1.
Bismillah.
Here we go. Right in there.
Right, hello, that's us live now.
Can you, right? Okay.
Yep, we're on live.
Yay. Right, brilliant. Oh, there you go. Every day's a school day, every day's a learning day.
Yep.
Right, so what I'd like to do is I'd like to welcome everybody today and thank you so much for taking time out of your Sunday for us for our World Hijab Day campaign. So today we've got Sister Naseem from Edinburgh, Sister Amina from Dundee, and Sister Lindsay from Glasgow, and my own sister Sophia from Forth Valley, Falkirk. So usually we do World Hijab Day as a stall in our local high street, and it's an opportunity for us to engage with the public. And we have had very interesting responses, and usually it is an experience in itself. We get people who are quite forthcoming, they're very supportive, and we do get the genuine question, a question or so about, are we forced to wear hijab, or the fact that like it looks as though we are oppressed, etc. So it does give a good grassroots kind of level interaction with the general public. And with that, we do also do an Ask the Imam. So last year, I think it was last year, or was it year before? Last year, before lockdown, we had Imam from both of our mosques to join us. And I think having them out there also breaks down that barrier, that perceived barrier that Muslims and the Imams and coming to the mosque, to the masjids, etc., that we're very closed off community, but the reality is we're not. So this opportunity is usually a great opportunity, to overcome that. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's just we have teenagers and kids coming along as well, our younger generation of girls coming along and explaining about hijab, and we also do little tutorials of how to put it on, and we get people to try them on as well, and we've always had really good positive feedback from that. And there's a time that when you went to Parliament, Farah, and you did the pledges, and we've got that, I think, on our website and our Facebook page, and I was actually in the local paper as well, with the pledges. You've got Nicola Sturgeon as well supporting wearing a hijab as well.
She wasn't wearing a hijab, but she did a pledge to say that. Yeah, that was like really, really eye-opening, actually, and the opportunity to go into Parliament and have that stall, and the questions from some of the MSPs as well was very interesting. And because it is that whole notion that even they perceived, some of them, that yes, it is something that shows oppression. And I was very surprised by some of the comments that were made, that they don't support women who wear hijab or anything, because they see it as a symbol of oppression. And they don't feel that living in Scotland, that we're a Scotland that celebrates freedom and being, open and things, that we're being very restricted. So it was like really very interesting and eye-opening for it to have that two-way conversation in a respectful manner. And I really hope that some of them, they have taken something away. But that definitely, it was very interesting when that happened.
I think that's a good way to start her off with our panelist here. We'll get the panelist to introduce themselves as they answer the first question about who they are, where they're talking from, and what they do. But first I'm going to start with is, do you think that, hijab, is it reasonable to say that hijab is as a symbol of oppression? And I'm just going to open up to the floor. We've got Naseem, Azad, Lindsay, Taylor, and we've got Amna Ijaz. Lindsay, thank you.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum. I'm Lindsay Taylor. I am the Regional Manager for Men's Muslim Engagement Development. I'm also on the board for Interfaith Scotland and also for Muslim Council of Scotland. So sit on quite a few different things and get around a wee bit. Do I see the hijab as a sign of oppression? No, not in any way whatsoever. To be honest, I find it really liberating wearing hijab. It was my choice completely. So I'm a revert to Islam, and I didn't wear hijab straight away when I converted. It took me a bit of time to kind of get into the swing of things and to decide when I wanted to do it. But it was my choice completely. My husband never even encouraged me to wear it. I would ask him, should I wear it, should I not? As a revert, obviously I wanted to know other people's opinions, and he always said the same, alhamdulillah, it's your decision when and if you're ready to wear it. Wearing the hijab, I find it really liberating, because it reminds me that I'm Muslim. It reminds me of my duties. It reminds me of my choices and what I should be doing as a Muslim, and it reminds me of who I am. So to me, I find it absolutely liberating. Thank you.
Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jazakallah ladies for asking me to be on the show today. My name's Naseem Azad and I'm based in Edinburgh. I work in the third sector, so a lot of community work. I find your question, do I think that the ladies that wear the hijab is a sign of oppression? Most certainly not. I do not find it a sign of oppression at all, although that's what a lot of the the communities out there may think. I started to wear the hijab when I was, maybe my youngest was just born. So I remember before that, I never wore the hijab. In fact, I never wore the, the dupatta, the loose scarf that, we used to wear on the head or around the neck. And in fact, my husband used to say, he says, you should wear a dupatta. He'd say, just, he would try and encourage me to wear the dupatta. I'm like, nah, that's just not for me. But what I found is that when we wear the hijab by our own choice, it means so much more. You're doing it for the right reasons, and wearing a hijab, the way it's supposed to be worn, covering the hair, the ears, the neck and the chest, and it means so much more. And like Lindsay says, it's very liberating, and I take great pride in wearing the hijab. When I'm going out, I make sure that, if you were to see my wardrobe, I think I have no less than 3,000 hijabs, because I have to match my hijab with my outfit. And I'm just crazy about, people out there buying shoes and bags. I'm crazy on the hijabs. So I have to match my outfits, because I take great pride in how I look when I go out there, but it's definitely not a sign of oppression. I love wearing the hijab. It's who I am. And as a lot of women wear the hijab because it says it in the Quran, it's our duty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He has that right over us. And by wearing the hijab, I know that I am pleasing him.
Thank you very much. And can you just pass it over to our third guest, Amna?
Assalamu alaikum. My name's Amna Ijaz and I'm from Dundee. I'm a student at Abertay University and I'm studying criminology. And to answer your question, I feel like it's not a sign of oppression either, because as Muslim women, it's our right to wear a hijab, and in Islam itself, hijab is a symbol of modesty, privacy and morality for Muslim women, as well as it giving them a closeness to God. And I started wearing a hijab when I started high school, and my parents encouraged me all my life basically to start wearing a hijab, but I wasn't comfortable in primary school to wear it. So when I was away to start high school, I encouraged myself to wear it. I wasn't forced to wear it. I encouraged myself to wear it. And so I started in first year at high school, and it was a big step for me because obviously I was young, so I didn't really know the meaning and stuff behind it, but my dad's an imam at a mosque as well, so he used to educate me on it, and it helped a lot. Like, all my family were really supportive of it as well. So as I wore it to school every day, I started to get more comfortable each day. So yeah, that's why I started wearing it.
Thank you very much. And we've got our last guest, Dr. Habiba, just joined us right now. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for coming this afternoon. We were just starting off our conversation about World Hijab Day and wearing hijab. And Farah had just ended up discussing about how people's thinking about ladies wearing hijab is a sign of oppression, and we're just asking the ladies what their thoughts on that was. If you'd like to introduce yourself and give us your thoughts.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. My name is Habiba, and I started wearing hijab, but I didn't really know what it meant, and I didn't really like the perception about hijab. So I started reading about what hijab really is and why do we need to wear it, and which I did see that, oh, okay, it's just kind of a sign of modesty and a sign of covering myself, showing who I am. And it's not only as a sign of modesty, it's a statement of who I am. It's part of my identity. So I shouldn't be ashamed of who I am. I shouldn't hide who I am, because at one point, because of my profession, sometimes I will be in the lab and I will take off my hijab and put it in my bag, finish what I'm doing, and then put it back on. But I got to a point after reading a lot, and I grew a lot, and I decided, no, I shouldn't be taking off my hijab. It's part of who I am, and it should conform to any uniform I'm wearing or any work I'm doing. And so I think it's really important that people understand hijab is just part of who you are. It's not something that you can decide, I'm going to wear today, I'm not going to wear tomorrow. And if we feel so comfortable with our hijab and try and get as much people to take it out there as we can, I think it's going to like send a message, oh, this is just part of who you are. You don't have to be ashamed of it. So I think that's my thoughts basically on it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to ask the same question to Farah as well. Farah, how did you start off with hijab?
I was about 15, 16 when I started wearing hijab, which was really funny because I remember my physics teacher, Mr. Beard, going, so have you like came of age? because that was the same age that you started. I think just after something around about that age, you started wearing hijab as well. I can't remember if it was later.
I started wearing the scarf when I was in S5 or S6, S5, I think. And
yeah, that's why, because they're like, oh, because your sister started wearing it, because I had just gone after summer into S5. You know, you go after high school, you have summer, and when you go back to high school, you have to have some form of radical change, you know, to wow your friends. So I think usually it is like the extreme haircut or a different makeover. So this year it was me and my hijab. That was my my thing for going back. So I'll never forget that. And then I always remember a couple of months after it, I had one of my good friends. She was like, I keep forgetting this, but do you have hair underneath there? And I was like, I'm not bald, you know. And she's like, oh, I just keep visualizing that you're bald underneath there, and then your scarf is there just to cover it up. But being like 15, 16 at the time, because she was my friend, like, you know, we all just took it as a joke, because I think that helped my friends a lot as well. The fact that, like, you know, we could take it a little bit light-hearted, because I know she didn't mean anything malicious by it. So I was really quite fortunate to have that kind of group of friends there. Yeah, there was some, like, obviously you do get, you know, the girls who think that they're better than everybody else looking down at you. So there was that, but the reputation that I had in high school was more of I don't take no guff from no one. So so that led to a couple of fights and stuff. But anyway, so that was sort of like the beginning of hijab, but it was a lot of I was the opposite. I did hijab first and then I learned more about it after. And I think because I did it that way, there was quite a lot of conflict inside me, because it's like I knew it was the right thing to do because my heart was in it, but my brain was thinking something else. Again, I was a teenager at the time, so I was like, but I just want to be the same as everybody else. I just want to be like this. I don't like all these restrictions and this and that, but my heart was telling me, no, that is good for you. There's something good in this for you. It is in Islam. It is to protect your modesty. It is to keep you humble. So I had a really good 2, 3, 4 years of that conflict in me, but it wasn't, I think, until I got to uni and I had other friends who wore hijab and we could talk about this, and I realized I wasn't the only one, and that kind of helped me come to settle my brain down a bit so I could listen to my heart. So yeah, no, I've got loads of stories like that, mind you, but yeah,
That
so
was very entertaining for us. Thank you very much. Gosh, I think that's more interesting. My experience was not after summer holidays. It was rather after the Christmas holidays, a 2-week break. And I spent all of Ramadan pretty much wearing my scarf because I was doing the prayers and reading more Quran, and particularly in English. So the more I read Quran in English, the more I felt attached and just feeling like it's the right thing to do. So I came back after the Christmas holidays, and obviously it's winter, so you got the added benefit of the warmth. Over in Scotland here, it's always welcome, isn't it? And I had like the deputy head teacher one time stop me in the corridor, Mr. Duncan, and he's like, "So have you come of age now?" And I was like, "Oh, is this something like you do at this age?" I was like, "No, really, I should have done it many years ago." And I had all those kind of questions as well, and feeling a wee bit different and weird. Well, I got over it because I was never really into peer groups anyway, so I was all right, no problem. Okay, so going next question is, like Farah just shared her experiences with yourselves, our panelists, back to our panelists. Could you share experiences that you have had that have been untoward, either yourself personally or people that you know, or your contacts, or people that you've supported regarding wearing of the hijab? So I'll just let it open, whoever wants to go first.
In terms of wearing the hijab and what the reactions have been, yes, there are the reactions, the questions, why do you wear the hijab? Are you forced to wear the hijab? Do you have hair under the hijab? All those kind of questions. But I think what works best is when you talk to people, when you have that dialogue, when you actually take the time out and speak to them and just explain. And we did as part of our group, which we formed in 2006, called Beyond the Veil. And we did a lot of school workshops. We went out into the communities, universities, colleges, schools, anywhere where there was a community event, we'd go and hold a stall there and speak about general Islam. But typically the questions were always around are Muslim women allowed to divorce, and what's under the hijab? So, and it's great, and I always say to them, just ask the questions, because if you don't ask the questions, you're never going to learn. It's always best to ask even the really kind of weird or wonderful questions. And the hijab was typically the most question that was asked the most. And I feel that when you explain it to people, men, women, children, it's great. They just understand it. It's as simple as that. I feel this community puts too much weight on the hijab. It's just a piece of cloth. It's just a piece of cloth. A lot of people associate so much more with the hijab than they should. There's no need to add anything extra. I was speaking at a school in Edinburgh, Trinity Academy it was, and I was explaining that when you get up in the morning and you put your tie on, for example, you just do it without thinking. And I goes, that's the exact same thing with me. I just get up, get ready, and put my hijab on. And that's all it is. It's just a hijab. There's no need for people to associate jihad or oppression or all these kind of things. There is absolutely no need to add any of those things at all. Yes, I wear it with great pride, and but it doesn't mean that I'm oppressed or that I shouldn't have to wear it. I should only wear it because I should wear it at home but not outside. That's not who I am. I'm wearing it for the right reasons, and because I do simply love to wear it. But there are negative comments out there, unfortunately. But it's our job to speak to people, to kind of educate them. That's what works.
I do agree that it is about, the more that we talk about it and the more that we allow people to question and ask questions, and that we're open to the dialogue, the better. Unfortunately, though, a lot of people aren't open to the dialogue. They're not open to even asking the questions. And I have quite a few friends who started wearing hijab around about the same time as me, and ones who have worn it earlier than that as well, who unfortunately have had to take it off because they've found that the negativity surrounding it. Because as you say, like, loads of people put so much weight upon wearing hijab, and they presume that it means something about being Muslim, it means something about our community, it means, oppression of women and all this kind of stuff. And what that's often led to is women having to take the hijab off because they feel threatened and vulnerable and unsafe outside in their kind of day-to-day lives, which is just absolutely devastating. So I love that we're having the opportunity to kind of have this conversation, and I hope that we're able to continue having conversations like this so that people understand hijab is our choice. Yes, there might be some people who are forced to wear it or kind of pushed in to wear it, but you'll find that in all societies with all things, you know, and governments or, you know, people who aren't Muslim and organizations and what have you who go, no, 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 women shouldn't have to wear it, or women shouldn't wear it, and go the other extreme of banning the hijab, that's a form of oppression. It's like, we're women, we want to just wear the clothes that we want to wear. And to me, hijab is just the clothes that I want to wear. It's nothing to do with anybody else or going out making a big statement about being Muslim. It's between me and God, and that's kind of it for me. That's as much as it goes. It's not about making any kind of big radical statement. And actually, if you ask my mum, who's a non-Muslim, obviously because I'm a revert, if you ask my mum like how she feels about hijab, she laughs and goes, she wore a hat all the time when she was little, it's just the same. So to her, she doesn't see any different, and I love that. I really love that. And I wish more people would just see it that it's just something that as a Muslim woman I've chosen to do, and it's not about making any massive statement. It's just like wearing a hat is a wedding, you know. Thanks.
Thank you. Can I ask Dr. Habiba to come in now?
Okay, yeah, that was so interesting. I've had a few negative experiences, like your question said. Like there's somebody that once asked me, oh, but you know, you're here in the UK. Are you just scared that the men in your country will see you with your without a hijab, and then you get in trouble? I was like, no, I'm not doing it because I'm scared of people. So I had to make them understand. I was like, this is for me. And I'm not doing it because I'm scared for the men in my country to see me without a hijab. I'm not feeling oppressed to do it. And which was quite funny because they were like, oh, really? I was like, yes, I choose to do it. So I'm not scared. And I've also had, there was a time, I think I was in the lab, I was doing a couple of experiments, and this professor was asking me, oh, is your head covering not so uncomfortable? Is it stopping you from your experiments? I was like, no, I'm fine. It's not stopping me from anything. I'm okay. So I kind of tucked it in, and I finished my work. So I think if with people, and she like listen when I explain to her, no, I'm fine. It's okay. It's a part of me, and I've chosen to wear it. So I think if people are more sensitized and aware that, oh, this is your choice and it's not uncomfortable in any way. People have asked me, oh, is it not so tight on you? I was like, no, it's not. It's just fine. I'm okay with it. It's like you said, it's just a piece of clothing and I'm wearing it and I'm fine with it. And that's it. I've got a teenage daughter and she's not wearing her hijab yet, but I want her to make her decision by herself and understanding, oh, okay, it's time. I want to do this for myself, understanding, so that when she goes out and meets people that might be ignorant, you can now explain to them, because some are just actually just ignorant, not that they mean any harm or anything. Yeah, so thank you.
Thank you. Amina?
I myself haven't really faced any major negative experiences, but in school, like I did used to get hit with questions like, do you sleep with that on? Do you shower with that on? You know, just stupid people like that asking questions. And like I remember on the first day I was really uncomfortable wearing it, and like I thought my friends wouldn't be able to recognize me because through the 7 years of primary school I didn't used to wear it. And my friends used to, whenever we would go to the girls' bathroom, they'd be like, oh, just take it off, your parents won't know. And I remember I used to think like, I just used to think in my head, like, you don't know the meaning behind it. I know the meaning behind it and I know why I'm wearing it. Like, I wish I was like, able to explain to them why I was wearing it, but I was young then. So like, I didn't know if they would like be willing to listen as well. But obviously as I grew up, as I passed like my high school years and stuff, then they'd start to understand, like they started to research on it themselves as well. And they were like supportive of it after that. But I remember when I'd get asked them questions like, how can you physically have a shower in it? Like, that's not even, why would you, like, you have hair underneath the scarf, why would you wear it and have a shower? And I just think to myself, like, how can you be asking that? But yeah, now when I like, without my hijab, I feel so incomplete. Like, I feel like it's like an important part of my identity. It's like a crown on my head, literally. Like, whenever I leave the house, like, that's the first thing I'm putting on. And without it, I just feel so incomplete. Like, I don't feel like myself. Like, even in the house, like, I'm just wearing it around the house all the time. Like, everyone's always like, just take off, like, your hair breathe. And I'm like, no, I just like having it on. Like, I'm just so, like, obsessed with it now. But yeah, that's basically it.
Do you have a big collection like Naseem here?
Yeah, like Auntie Naseem was saying, I have like a hijab that matches every outfit. There's just so many, they never end.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as a bad hair day. That's one thing I'll never be saying.
Yeah.
That's something I hear Farah saying all the time. At least my head matches my outfit, though. Yeah, so it's something we take from pride. I'm quite proud of my scarf collection as well, because it's from all over the world, between New York, Dubai, Pakistan, all over UK. One's from Oman. You know, I've got these collections, and with them come memories and their souvenirs. You know, there's so much more attachment to that. It's like people, you know, collect shoes and scarves and other kind of accessories. That's what it is for us as well, isn't it? But I have to say, okay, so the theme for this year is "Don't let our pride be your prejudice," and it's because of the you know, the rising Islamophobia that we have been facing in the past 5-10 years around the world. And there's a lot of attacks on ladies who wear hijab. In fact, hijabophobia attacks, hate crime tend to be more towards women than it is men, because we're, you know, seen as a weaker sex or easy targets. We've had YouTube viral videos of women down London getting pushed, one in front of a tram, one was down the stairs on a tram station, and went viral a couple of years ago. And it's just, we do find that maybe, you know, we're lucky we don't have that many bad experiences, and where we are up in Scotland might not be as bad as other places. But if you are other places, you know, experiences that you know of, you know, I think it's good to share, because we need to be aware that there is a problem, that some people do find that their prejudice comes in the way between our pride. And on that note, I'm going to put it over to Naseem, because she's got something really nice to share with us about the work that she's doing on that.
So this is a book. I don't know if that's clear. Is that clear, guys?
Yeah, it says Pride and Prejudice.
Yeah. And our organisation is Beyond the Veil. So basically, I was part of this, we formed this group in 2006 as a result of the Islamophobia. That was when I kind of personally felt that Islamophobia has really taken quite an ugly turn. And it was due because of the 9/11 and then the 7/7. So we decided as a small group, Muslim ladies, with the help of our very dear friend Lynn McCabe from the City of Edinburgh Council, she supported this group, and we created this booklet. And we called it Beyond the Veil because we wanted folk to look beyond the veil. Because when people look at me, they just see, okay, she's got hijab. There's so many stereotypes that people just come up with when they see me, for example, or any woman with hijab. So we wanted to push the agenda. You know, you need to look beyond the veil. I'm a woman, I'm a Muslim, I'm a mom, you know, I like to eat Thai food. There's so many other things that people don't know about me, but because I'm wearing the hijab, they just fit me into this kind of box. And that's what we were trying to do. And then we called it Pride and Prejudice because we spoke about our faith, all aspects of faith, talking about Ramadan, talking about Hajj, talking about the way we dress, the foods we eat. So we wanted to show that, you know, we're very proud of these things. But what we also wanted to do was to portray that the prejudices that we're feeling because you're not quite understanding, you need to ask the questions rather than just always assume, have the stereotypical kind of negative ideology about Muslim, especially Muslim women. As Sophia said, Muslim women do face the wrath more than men do because they are the weaker sex, and it's easy to always kind of speak about women. So we spoke about the hijab was obviously a very important chapter in that, and how we explain that why do we wear the hijab? We wear the hijab to cover. A woman's body is far more beautiful than a guy's body. We know that, you know, the hair are very beautiful, the neck, the chest for obvious reasons, the shape of a body, you know, we need to be wearing clothes that are not fitting, transparent, shouldn't really be showing the shape of the body because, you know, let's be honest, the woman's body is a very beautiful thing. So, but then I went on to say, you know, I can wear jeans, I can wear long skirts, I can wear the long burqa, you know, the long black dress. And we always say it's like the Harry Potter gowns, and then people understand. People understand that. But so there is that pride part of it for me. And then unfortunately, there's a lot of prejudice out there. But I think, you know, the ladies here today, we're all in our own way, trying to tackle that, you know, and you're doing this show today means that a lot more will be able to understand, and especially from Lindsay's point of view, because she's a revert, you know, and I think that shows that I wore the hijab by choice, but but the fact that Lindsay wore it means so much more than me, because I was born Muslim, you know, I'm Pakistani, and I think that Lindsay's wearing it is you know, definitely will speak much more.
Astaghfirullah. I think for every woman who puts on hijab and goes out every day into the streets in the UK or any city which is not a Muslim city or town or village, alhamdulillah, the reward and blessing that they get, because it's not easy. It is a difficult thing to do, and as much as we all love to wear hijab and we're really proud of it, and we, you know, really take it as a part of our belief systems and take it to our hearts, it isn't easy. It's not easy to face the prejudice and the looks and the stares. And I say it to people, and I know that this like really lowers, like really brings down the mood and everything, but I had never known what it was to be hated until I put on hijab and walked down the street, and the looks that you get from people, that look of instantaneous dislike and hatred and suspicion and all the rest of it. For what? For what? Because of the portrayal of what a Muslim is, because of the portrayal of what people think the hijab is, because of media, because of politics, because of what Joe Bloggs down the street told his mate of what Muslims are. And that's awful. And that's awful because I'm so proud to be Muslim. I'm proud every day, and I feel blessed every day, and I feel proud and blessed. Astaghfirullah, we're not supposed to feel proud, obviously, but I feel blessed that I'm able to wear hijab. And it's one of the reasons I do the job that I do, actually, which is working for MEND, which is an organisation tackling Islamophobia. And I do that job so that other women can walk out in the street every day and wear hijab if they want to, and so that they can wear full burqa and the veil and everything if they want to, without any prejudice and without discrimination, so that they can walk into a job interview and get that job, even though they're wearing hijab and the veil, and they're not suffering from any discrimination from it. And, you know, I think I get a little bit the reverse one of, you know, there are a lot of issues surrounding Muslim names and being able to get jobs and you know, CVs, and it's been shown that you're 3 times less likely to get called for an interview, actually, if you have a Muslim name. I get the other thing because I have a Scottish name and my name's Lindsay Taylor, and I rock up to places with my hijab on, and they just kind of look at me like, are you sure? And actually one person came up to me and said, "You're just not what I was expecting." And I said, "What were you expecting?" And she just kind of went, and I was like, "You weren't expecting this, were you?" And she was like, "Well, and I said, "Don't worry, it's okay. I get it all the time. My name's Lindsay. You're not expecting a Muslim." I said, "It's okay, but there's a lot of us out there, so I kind of get used to it, get your head around it." But, you know, alhamdulillah, it is very much so about breaking down the barriers of the prejudice. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Lindsay. I really hope that the reason I was like smiling a little bit as well is because I really, really hope, I mean, you know, we try to look at the upside of the downside of life as well. So one of the things that I really sincerely hope that sisters who do wear hijab aren't having so much of a tough time now, like to cover their face, because when we go out on the high street, nearly everybody has their face covered. It's like, hey, join us now. So I just so I think that's just what was coming to my mind. Dr. Habiba, would you like to contribute?
Yeah, well, what was coming to my mind when Lindsay was talking, like, I know there's a lot of prejudice. Like, I've got 2 boys that go to football games and in remote places in Scotland, in Aberdeen. So you can imagine, like, going up to the Highlands in your hijab, and you're the only hijabi in a football game. So, but, well, I'll be like, well, I don't care. And, like, people will look at me, smile, and then when I speak, they're like, oh, okay. You can see that, oh, they've maybe had a prejudice before, and they, oh, you're friendly. Oh, you're saying hi. You're taking a cup of coffee with us. Oh, yeah, okay, I'm normal, I'm human. Just because I'm wearing a hijab doesn't make me different. So I really do relate to, yeah, what everybody's saying. Yeah, thanks.
Amna, how about yourself? Would you like to contribute?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I feel like it's important for us hijabis to understand like why we're wearing it and who we're wearing it for. And even though it's like difficult to, you know, face all the prejudice and all the problems like related to it, like at the end of the day, we should be strong enough and like support each other in this. Like we're all in this together, and we know we're wearing it for Allah, and like that's all that really matters. But yeah.
Yeah, no, that is very true. It's always a humbling point to come back to, is that we've got to remember why we wear hijab. It's not a fashion statement for some people. They feel in a way it is, but definitely we need to always remember why we wear it. Just back on what you were saying, Dr. Habiba, it reminds me of this time. Not just one time, it happens a good few times, quite regularly sometimes, right? If anybody's ever been out or with me and my boys, or you see me, like it's very usually a hectic affair, like going shopping, for example. I'm sure anybody with children can relate. And obviously, you know, what we're talking about, prejudice and like, you know, first, like, you know, the impressions amongst others. I remember I was getting really, really annoyed at both of my boys, because my older one, he just doesn't stop talking. And then the other one, he has his demands in the middle. And then I just turned around and I goes, "Can you just hold your waist?" And then I was just so annoyed. It came out really loud and like pure Scottish. And I remember like there was somebody else that was like walking past and they just burst out laughing. And I was like, oh, I thank God I just burst out laughing as well. But there you go, because I think half of it was a surprise that such a strong Scottish accent came out of me. And because I've got a background in sales, when I used to work at Curry's, that used to be quite common as well, actually. That I actually had a lady who refused to be served by me because of I think it was because I was wearing a hijab, but she was like, but I also had like a little bit of a runny nose or something. She's like, oh, I just don't want to get ill. It's like, aye, right. But yeah, no, we do kind of face these sort of prejudices. And then again, it's like, how do you address certain prejudices? Like what Lindsay, your example is that, you know, you weren't expecting me with the hijab. It's the same kind of the thing is like, how do we have this conversation and show that, you know, we aren't normal? And that's where we always tend to find representation matters, you know, as citizens of Scotland, and especially within the Muslim community. That's why doing community work is so important. And that doesn't mean sticking within the community, the Muslim community. I'm talking about going beyond and further. So for anybody that is listening, for example, today, I would ask, you know, anybody who's got children, how involved are you in your child's school? Are you a part of the PTA? Are you a part of the parent council? In a way, yes, it is all, oh, because you're coloured or because you look different, you're perceived to be different, you're shunned to the side. But unless we take that step forward and become more involved, then we're never going to change the circle that we're in. And that's one of my personal things I always say to all my friends, is that you really need to be more involved in your child's school. And that's I say that to my own sister as well. About it. And the good thing is about this pandemic, because we're all stuck at home and everything's done online, it removes that barrier for like being able to access like school meetings, for example. So I find that is a good way forward. Just kind of like coming back on the topic of prejudice and things, how do you see the situation evolving in Scotland, or even like generally, like what do you think would be better or beneficial or even inspirational to other women, and obviously to give knowledge to men as well, because hijab applies to men, and even the number of men that say, what does that mean, I have to wear a piece of cloth over my head? And that's the first thing that I do, actually, the men folk, I do say to them, well, I'm observing my hijab, are you? Because men often forget about what their duties are in Islam and what hijab means for men. And the first thing is in Islam, it is men that are taught to lower their gaze. First, the men were told these etiquettes, and then women were asked. And I think that's a very huge thing that in our cultured societies, and I'm going to say Pakistani culture because I'm from Pakistan as well, and it is very, very common that, you know, you get, like, that's why it is very common that, you know, you get looked at in a certain way. So the number of times that I say that to even brothers that, you know, have grown up around, it's like, do you observe your hijab, brother? It's like, what do you mean by that? And it's like, well, you know, this is what it means. And they're like, so it is really
I
interesting.
think for that also shames John's victim blaming as well. The pure fact that men are told to sort themselves out first. Because victim blame of women, doesn't matter what country you are in, it's prevalent. Everyone always blames the girl, always. So the onus goes back onto the man.
Yeah, exactly. Especially
yeah.
It shouldn't be a controversy, but whenever you hear about somebody being sexually assaulted or raped, it's always what was you always hear it. You know, what was the woman wearing? What was she doing at that time? Whereas Islamically, this is why I love our religion much, much more. It is that the onus is on men and how they conduct themselves in the presence of a woman, and social etiquette, the whole and being respectful. And again, a lot of that, like when the whole Me Too campaign came out, it was like, see if the principles of Islam were already in here, by the way, there wouldn't even be a Me Too campaign. So I think, but it's very unfortunate that, you know, women have been subjected to this sort of abuse. So anyway, that's enough of me blabbering on and on and on. I'm going to open it up to our panels to see what they think.
Can I just say, so if we look at, for example, the 1990s, early 1990s, I hardly knew anybody that wore the hijab, yeah? I would say I was probably one, from where I live and my generation, I was probably one of the first to start wearing the hijab. And it was very difficult for a lot of women. And I didn't phase myself into wearing the hijab. Just one day I thought, okay, I'm going to start wearing the hijab, and just got on with it. So I think your question is, how do we inspire others to wear the hijab or to have further understanding? I think it's getting easier because, you know, we're on a platform like this today talking about the hijab. But what's more important is that we, in our own way, are out there in the community. I mean, look at Lindsay, the amazing work she does. She's speaking about a different level. I'm speaking, for example, the grassroots level. Amina, I believe she's a uni student, so she's kind of speaking to her peers there. And Dr. Habiba, I believe, is in Aberdeen. So I think there's an onus on each and every one of us to be seen visibly out in the community. You mentioned the PTA. My youngest is now 19, so it's a good number of years, but I, in fact, was on the PTA. And I used to kind of be active in that field. But I think what the problem can be sometimes is Pakistani women, and I will say Pakistani women because I don't really know much about the other cultures, Asian women, we don't tend to kind of be involved in the community, in the activities of our children. We need to be out there. We need to be visible. We need to, for example, Farah, you said that you spoke with this broad Scottish accent. Nobody should be shocked, but they are shocked. First of all, okay, she's speaking English. Why are people still shocked today that a woman wearing a hijab speaks English? Why is that so shocking? You know, so we need to be in all corners of the community, parts of the society we're living in, visible, speaking your mind, educating, promoting, and the hijab and who we are as Muslim women. And I think that's where we're lacking sometimes. And we really need to be out there advocating and speaking very openly about the hijab. If nobody else is speaking, but you speak about it, you touch on the subject, you know, and I think that has wonderful positive effect.
Thank you so much, Sister Naseem. Dr. Habiba, I'm really interested because you're Nigerian, I believe.
Yes, I am.
So from your cultural perspective, I'd be really interesting to see how hijab is perceived and any stereotypes.
Yeah, like, because where I'm from, it's the northern part of Nigeria, which is presumably all Muslim. So you even start wearing the hijab practically the day you were born. Your mom will get your hijab and put on your baby head. Like, okay, I might be exaggerating a bit, but like you just grew up wearing it. That's why when I came to the UK, and I did my studies, did my master's, and it's not common for women in our place, from my place, normally in like we're not really so vocal. You don't get so involved in the community. You like to just be at home, be the wife, and let the man do everything. But no, I'm different. And then there are a few other different women like that as well. So so coming here, that's when I even understood the hijab more, because initially I didn't. I just did it because everybody was like, literally you just grow up like that. But then here you understand, oh, I'm doing this because I want to, because my religion says this about it. It's part of my modesty. So I choose to do this. So I think that is really important for hijab, the fact that you know why you're wearing it. So if you meet somebody that's kind of ignorant, you will be able to explain to the person, oh, no, that's not it, you know, you're being so ignorant about it. And that's why my daughter now, she's S4, and she's still not wearing her hijab. So what I do is, I tell her, you don't have to do it because you want to copy me. No, you have to do it because it's what you want to do. Because if I force you to do it, you could go out and then put it in your bag and then put it back on when you're coming back home from school. So yeah, so I think it's really important, like Sister Nasim also said, about knowing what you're doing and showing people out there. And like you said to Farah, being involved in the community. I go to all the football games with my hijab, and they feel, oh, it's really wrong. Once you cross that barrier and people see you that, oh, you're normal, you're just any other parent, and you're actually having fun in all the activities, then that prejudice will start wearing off gradually. And then probably now in the next couple of years, you wouldn't even see, nobody will even turn an eye when they see a hijabi person, with a lot of sensitization on the topic and getting people that are ignorant being aware as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Habiba. That is very insightful. It's quite striking the similarities as well with the whole perception of women and having to stay at home. And here we are, you know, as a collective, the 6 of us, encouraging women to come out. So for any of the husbands and the menfolk watching, encourage your women to be more active, please, within the community, within the children's school, because only then are we going to be able to actually make society better. Amna, I think you're probably like the youngest out of us all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I'd be interested to hear your point of view on this.
I feel like it's important to speak up if you do face any prejudice or, you know, any problems related to why you're wearing hijab and stuff, because if you're not going to speak up, then people will think you're an easy target, and they're going to think, okay, so I've targeted this woman, I can easily target another woman as well that's wearing a hijab. So I feel like you do have to speak up and educate people, because say, for example, like where I live, not many people are educated, like white people especially, like they come across as racist most of the time if they do see someone wearing a hijab. So I feel like if they were to come across to you and say something, you should like use that to speak about it and explain to them why you are wearing it and what it means to you and how what they're doing is wrong, and like they're not going to benefit from doing that. Like they're obviously going to have to face the consequences one day. It's like you have to tell them it's not okay to do what you're doing. Like I feel like it's really important for us to speak up, and especially like I go to uni right now, so obviously like in uni there's not many hijabis, the uni I go to. So I feel like when someone does see hijabi, like they do tend to question it and be like, oh, why are you wearing that? What's it for? Etc. So I feel like it's important to, you know, if you're going to be seeing them people all day, you can't be facing them questions every single day. You're going to have to, you know, give them an answer so that they stop speaking about you like that. So yeah, that's basically it.
I'm quite surprised in 2020, like people are still asking that question. Like, do not watch enough stuff online. I mean, the world's become very small now,
Yeah.
and they've still got that kind of prejudice.
Yeah.
But, okay, so we've got about 8 minutes left. What I'd like to do is just ask each individual panelist as well, just a wee bit of a closing on going forward. What more can we do to celebrate World Hijab Day, and just open up and tackle questions, or maybe for more allyship, wider, well, not just parenting, but for those who are not parents, who are in the workforce, what more can we do to help beat this, you know, prejudice narrative that we have that Muslim women are oppressed, apart from, you know, putting in complaints to the BBC whenever they have those kind of characters written into their dramas, apart from that, if there's other things that we could do in your experience of line of work or just of your life, what we could do there. With our Al-Masar, if you're interested, we had a booklet that we made a few years ago on hijab, and you can just send us an email or just PM us, and we could send you an electronic copy of that out. And you can just read more about the background of hijab and even comparing it with other religions as well. We normally hand this out when we're in person with our stalls as well. Other things, basically what we do with Al-Masar with is just about having that presence. I mean, talking about Dr. Habiba, about the football games, it reminds me of our Saturday AFC club that we have for our children, our non-mainstream football club, and I tend to be the only one who wears a hijab in the football stadium as well when we're going to watch games, or if it's a tournament over in Edinburgh or Glasgow, and I'll be the only one because I'm like the manager. So it's like everyone else has got the males, even if it is multicultural and you have lots of Muslim brothers going about, then you have me with the kids going about. The first couple of years I did that, and it was basically me with I don't know, like 5-6 teams from different parts, Central Scotland. And I was the only female manager of the football team with the coaches, and obviously dressed as I am. And it was very much not that stereotype kind of thing. And again, with that Scottish accent as well. So we've, it's about us being more active in any way possible in our lives. That's what we try and do with Al-Masar here. I'm going to go start with Lindsay. I know you do a lot of stuff with MEND. So I just way forward for us.
Oh, do you know, there's so many, and quite a few of them have been touched on already today, which is great, and that's about reporting. So reporting when you do face hate crime, when you do face discrimination, is really important to try and tackle Islamophobia and tackle the issues surrounding wearing hijab when you get prejudice. But also education is really important, as you said. Get involved in your kids' schools. If you don't have kids, then get involved in the community, get involved in society. And even if you do have kids, get involved in absolutely everything that you possibly can. But also education for kids in schools is really important. It's really important that we educate our kids about equality and non-discrimination from a really early age, because this is the next generation. These are the people that are going to be taking our country forward. You know, these little kids in the playground right now, these are our future prime ministers and MPs and MSPs and big industry workers and small industry workers and all the rest of it. But these are our future, and it's really important that we educate them from a really young age, so that when they're moving into the workforce, when they're moving into mainstream society in a different way outside school, then they know about equality, they know what it is to not discriminate against people, and they put that into practice. So to me, education is really, really important. Thanks.
Dr. Habiba, yourself?
Yeah, I think I do agree with what Lindsay said. Educating people is so important, and not just people as well. And you can also start educating your kids, let them know it's not okay for somebody to talk to me like this. It's not okay for somebody not to like what I'm wearing. It's okay for me to wear what I want to wear. It's okay for me to put on my hijab. So, and also to educate your kids to also respect somebody else's ideologies. So I think it's all about having a community that is not being so ignorant. And so I think education is the main key. Be involved, be active, go to places, and be proud of your hijab. Even if you're not supposed to be proud, at least proudly wear it. And it rubs off kids, so they will see, oh no, this is a good thing because you're happily wearing it and doing what you want to do with your thing. And gradually that acceptance will definitely start to improve more. Yeah, thank you.
I think that my generation, when we grew up, Islam was reading the Quran in Arabic, and that was it. Okay, so but when I had children, I sat with them and did a lot more in-depth study of Islam, and of course I learned so much as well. So I think this is kind of typical of the Asian community, we're just told, just do this, but we're never told why we need to do this. And this is, I always felt that gap. I would say, Dad, but why am I doing this? Dad would like, just do it. I'm like, but that's not enough for me. I need to know. But so I felt that gap with that when I was teaching my children. It's very important that we speak about not just the hijab. We need to speak about what it says in the Quran about treating others, how we treat others, And if we're not treated right, how we need to tackle that. What does it say about the hijab? Why we wear the hijab? And not just for women, for men as well, for our sons. There's so much that we need to sit and discuss one-to-one with our children as parents. You know, we need to have those discussions, looking at what's in the Quran, looking at what our responsibilities are. It's not always about others. We need to take responsibilities as well. We can't always say, oh, well, such and such. We need to say, have we done our part first? And then we go out and speak to others or complain or raise a complaint. So I think that's very important. Self-education, education within the home, in terms of Islam and general education, etiquettes, how we interact in the communities. That's very important. I do a lot of Edinburgh interfaith work, so member of the Edinburgh Interfaith Association. So it's about tolerance of other faiths as well, and how, you know, having that kind of coexistence, because we're living in UK, there's people from all backgrounds. And I think that's very important as well. If we teach that to our children, then they will be ambassadors or of Islam, and then other people will see that. So I think that's very, very important. But yes, we all need to be interactive in all parts of the community. I know we keep saying schools, but because everybody around the table here is probably a mum, but you know, that's not always the case. You know, there's many parts of the community you need to be out and about and doing your bit, speaking to people. If there's any kinds of ignorance, just speak about it. And I think that shows, it shows that, you know, women are able to speak, and they are very strong and very encouraging of the faith, not of the faith, sorry, of the hijab. That's very, very important. So just do what we're doing today. I think you need to have a lot more, Sophie, of these kind of shows, more interactive, even funny things, because people kind of engage in different ways. I don't know, maybe there's loads of stuff on YouTube we need to be sharing a lot more. I know, and it's great because when I go out, I don't wear the mask. I've got a ready-made mask. I just grab my hijab and just do this, and that's. So I've saved a fortune on masks. Let's think of this. Thank you, ladies.
Not to forget that, you know, we live in Scotland, so talk about extra layer of protection against the freezing cold weather. As would you call it? I've got a little one. One of my nephews. He says, "Khala Farah, she's doing her ninja delivery anytime I come." Oh, bless him! I love him to bits. Sorry, I'll let Amna come in, and then Dr. Habiba.
Yeah, I agree with what everyone's saying. Like, I feel like it's really important to educate youngsters, especially like if little, you know, girls want to start wearing it. It's important to tell them that it's not just a cloth that's going to be worn on your head. There's like a lot more to it. There's a lot more meaning to it, and you have to understand that meaning. And you have to it also creates a closer bond with you and God as well. And it's really important for them to understand that, so that they can educate. So if they do face any prejudice or, you know, any ignorance in the community, then they can face that themselves. They have to be taught to be strong enough in order to face, you know, any problems that may occur. But yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and finally, I think it's so important to a lot of hijabi women to come out. Like I keep bringing my kids up, for example, but like my daughter has a little emoji with the hijab, though she doesn't wear her hijab, but her emoji does. So, but at least she's relating with that. So if we could do a lot of things, fun things like that, and kids see some silly things, but they still have the hijab, they start relating to them. So I think, yeah, that should work, inshallah. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much. Could I just ask people who are watching, and also obviously our panelists as well, you can just share our video. I will be coming up on YouTube shortly in the next couple of hours as well, for people to view and leave their comments as well. And thank you so much for coming. This is our first time doing our own Facebook Live, with everything else going online as well. So are we. So if you have any other topics regarding just prejudices or difficulties or just issues that we have in our community, please just drop us a message, and we can organise something like this again on another topic, and get people on board to share their views and just have a wee giggle and a laugh, especially have fun online as well. That's quite funny, entertaining.
One thing I think is worth noting as well, I think what was it? One thing that we're really good with Al-Nasar, and I really hope other if there's any of the teachers or any people who are member of community groups, is that in the past we have actually gone out to schools and had that conversation with pupils, because it's different learning from a teacher, but then it's different again learning from someone who's actually a real Muslim. Like, as in, like, you know, we walk and talk, we dress, we pray like a Muslim. And I think that makes a huge difference as well for children and their perception. But yeah, I've got 101 jokes about but we'll save that for another day.
Yes, thank you. If folks just leave feedback as well, that'd be really good. So our time is up here. If there's any last comments, if not, that'll be us done for today. No, we all good. Okay.
Ladies, thank you very much for inviting me along. It's a real pleasure. Thank you.
No, thank you very much for coming along. I'm just going to stop the live stream now.
Okay, Jazakallah.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Bye.